Welcome to the season one premiere of Digitized, where we are exploring how to unlock and activate your digital potential and take your life to the next level. And your host, myself, Kyle, and
Kent.
Ken.
So I am also running this show, and one of the things that we're going to talk about today is kind of this whole journey of digitizing yourself. I've kind of been on this journey a while, and then a while back I was in Mazatlan, Mexico. Is that right, Kyle? That's where we
That's
first
exactly
met,
right.
and we were just having this incredible show. There were hundreds of people in that audience. I don't remember. But we both did our thing. Kyle was emceeing the show, so I'm about to turn this over for him to MC this show today, so I can actually engineer and produce the show. Because we're doing this together, and we're doing this live, and there's a lot of technology going into this, and we can't wait to share it with you. So Kyle, I know you've got a plan for the show today. I totally forgot what it was. Help us out and just tell me what to do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ken. Well, the big thing about this particular show is about unlocking your digital potential, and we're doing it in real time here. It's where Kent and I have come together, as you mentioned, in Mazatlan, where we were empowering leaders and their organizations in a couple different things. One, to embrace the disruptive technologies of the future, but the other was to be really effective and efficient, high-performing teams as they lean into that future. And as Kent and I got together and have built our relationship, we have constantly, as we've talked in different places around the world, as we work with the large and small clients around the world, we keep coming back and reconnecting at this amazing place here in Marin County in the North Bay of San Francisco, just connecting and speaking about what are we learning along the way? What are some of the things that are the pain points of the clients that we work with? What are some of the pain points as we are helping to drive change and disruption inside of businesses? How else can we actually help others? And Ken, being a master of technology, and myself in terms of leadership, motivation, and getting high performance right, the two of us coming together, we realized, well, there's a lot of knowledge that we both have that could really empower and help leaders drive it forward. And so what we've done here, and Ken is the real mastermind driving this one here. It was so fast on how this idea came in one of our evening masterminds, as we do these every few weeks together, where we were like, we need to make a show. We need to get this together. We need to bring this message out to more people. We need to bring the tools and the tactics and the methodologies out to more folk so that we're able to actually help more people, because we can only help as many people as we are in front of. But with the digital landscape, there's so many more, like this platform right here, having a show, having YouTube. As we start to get this out to the world, hopefully there are going to be some really important things in our dialogue. And this is, to some degree technical. We want to get into some really hardcore aspects of life and technology and how to drive performance, but at the same time, it's casual. What we wanted to do was say, imagine there was a camera on Kent's and I's conversations, right? There's so much value in us just brainstorming with each other and figuring it out for ourselves, because we all just figuring it out for ourselves right now. Nobody's got this dialed or down. We're figuring it out for ourselves. And the master Kent over here, he just is able to run with ideas so quickly, and this merger of creativity together is where we want to go. So here we are. It's happening.
We
We
did
actually pulled this together. So Kent, like some thoughts around that. Just what is it? What is digitized to you? And what is it that you'd love to bring to life in our show together for our audiences?
Yeah, so obviously I've been thinking about this a lot. We've been meeting for weeks, and just a quick shout out. Hey, maybe they'll sponsor us, the Wu Wei Tea Company in Fairfax.
Oh
That's where
yeah,
we've
the
been
Wu
doing all
Wei.
this. Yeah, I've had
There's
lots
tea.
of strange teas that I've never had before, but they are in fact energizing. But the thing this means to me is I've been on this journey. Look, man, I've been on this journey for my whole life. Like, I was that little nerd kid long ago who got his hands on a Commodore VIC-20 and wrote code. So I mean, this is just like part of my life journey, and I've always struggled with trying to find a way to maximally help, frankly, to deliver some of the stuff the very nice things you said, thank you, about what I do, finding a way to get that out to more and more and more people so that I can create more value in the world. Because I've really come to believe, and maybe this is just part of as you get a little older, as you have kids, I've come to believe that the value that you can put out into the world that other people can leverage, it tends to come back. There's a certain reflection.
That's
I don't
right.
think it's 100% reflection, and that's totally okay, but enough, enough. So I've tried to learn to be, and it is learning. I've tried to become more generous with that. And this show for me, it really may be the first time that it's all fair game. Like if I want
Hmm.
to talk to you about microphones, it would fit here. If I want to talk to you about what it's like to have a 3-year-old who's sick today, sitting over there, who at some point may run over here and interrupt the show, it's fair game. That's what it means to be digital. That's what it means even with more serious matters, like the way that the coronavirus is moving
Right.
around. It means that we can deliver all the value from right here. We can keep working, right? And we
Hmm.
can we can we can deliver and receive value. We can get things done that matter in the world from our home offices, from wherever. Frankly, if as long as we've got an internet connection and we've got a little bit of technology to help us broadcast this way. So, I mean, right now, I think this is our first show, so not a lot of people are
That's right.
watching. Although I've been pinging out some things saying, "Hey, I'm live," just for fun. If they were to join our live stream, they could chat to us and ask us questions right now. I can't wait to
Right.
do that with you.
That's
Like,
right.
hey, what questions do you have about unlocking your digital potential, about being digitized?
Yeah.
I think in a nutshell, that's what it means to me. So I don't know. What topics did you think we should hit this first time?
Yeah, so one of the things was really digging into today around this idea of why digitized. I think, as you and I got together and talked around this, we have our virtual selves, we have our analog world that we live in, and there's this digital self that we have, whether we like it or not. Some of us are doing it with full intention. When we talk about digitizing ourselves, it's taking all the things we do in reality physically and converting that into more of an online self. But as you and I were chatting about this, as soon as you sign up to an email address, as soon as you do anything online, as soon as you log on to the internet, you are expressing a digital version of yourself. You are suddenly in the digital world. And one of the things as our future, as you rightly said, with a lot of the trends and the impacts and the disruptions that are happening, what we're noticing in working with high level executives is that nobody fully understands it. It can be very, very overwhelming. Now there's so many choices. There's so many different things that you have to be mindful of. With the growth of internet companies, especially for you and I being here in San Francisco, just the amount of unicorns, the amount of disruption that's happening in a digital landscape. How do you make those choices? What fits with me? How do I make my life efficient and effective? How do I unlock that potential? And so for today, as we're just digging into it, this is really around context setting. So why digitized? Why this program? What we want to do here is to make things understandable, manageable, and impactful. We
No.
talked about three particular areas that we thought about as framings, which is this idea of vision. Can we start to imagine and have a vision of where we would like to take our lives? And can a digital version of ourselves actually advance us towards that outcome? There's the mapping piece, which is the second piece. The mapping is where am I versus where I want to be, and how can I start to navigate and actually map out the right journey to get what I want? Or is there a more efficient and effective way to get to where I want? And then the third is this idea of impact. So if I've got this vision and I'm getting clear about certain things, and there's so many topics we can cover, the second is I'm starting to see some steps that I can take towards this vision. Now, the third is impact. And that impact piece is how do I now start to take action? What is it I can do with it? How do I measure myself differently? How do I start to do something different? So those are the three kind of big areas, exactly as you're just pulling up there. Those are the three big areas that we wanted to talk about. But today was really around why digitized and just getting into
Got
understanding
it.
a little more about these pain points.
Yeah, you mentioned the digital self. A lot of people call that a digital twin. Some
Hmm.
people, the word I've been using, maybe it's just too nerdy a word, but I like doppelganger because I
Yeah.
think it just has there's a certain gravitas to that word that I like, and I actually even a few years ago now I thought about creating a company around this concept of helping people manage their digital doppelganger by
Mm.
proxy because most people don't have the technology skills to catch their digital output.
Right.
I'm not building that business. If anybody's interested in that, give me a call. But
Right.
the reality is, it's a whole thing. And I even had this crazy thought and about what if, banks are kind of in trouble right now in a lot of
Right.
ways. A lot of the banks don't really know it, even though they certainly should post
Hmm.
bailout, that things aren't great. But the reality is that banks have an opportunity to bank not money but data, because if
Right.
data is the new oil or the new money, then, well, what data? Well, your digital twin data. And I mean, this is just a huge opportunity, and I'm just
Right.
sharing it with the world because, frankly, there are some great projects out there that are trying to do this. But that whole digital, we could just have a whole other episode just talking about the concepts around what it would mean to have a managed and hosted doppelganger,
That's
right? So
right.
this is, I literally wrote a brief on this ages ago, and I would love to share it. I'm not going to build that company, so let's just share it. But I have enough other stuff to do. That's one thing. And then, I think one of my number one hopes for this show is that it helps people.
Yeah.
And you told a story to me the other day, and if you don't want, it's fine. If you do, it's fine. But it's about sort of technology enablement, and you did something really cool with one of your clients. You ran a show, and then you went and you used some of this very same technology that we're using right now
That's right.
to connect with your client in kind of a very different way. I don't know if you want to share a little bit about that. I thought
Yeah.
it was super cool, and definitely worth letting people know it's possible, because I don't even think people know that's possible, Kyle.
That's right. I mean, and this honestly, came from connecting with you. And I think it is this idea of as one of the first things we would say about this with this show is that surrounding yourself with people that are challenging your thinking, that are challenging your ability to see a different future, but that are also inviting you to be creative and adapt in maybe in the way that you're doing business. And right now, as Ken mentioned, this idea of the coronavirus is I think from what I'm hearing as clients call and push things out or maneuver things and they're trying to understand is this ability of adaptability. But there's also this idea of presence, meaning that a lot of the things that we do have been live in-person meetings, large, top 300s of a company, top hundreds of a company. We come to a destination, we get into a room, we really hash it out, we do some incredible and extraordinary transformation and breakthroughs, and then everybody goes back to their thing. They go back to their lives, they go back to their rituals, their habits, and their systems. And how do you capture up, how do you bottle up, the connectivity that we had in that moment with each other? The second is all of the things that you learned. Usually those come through as form of an attachment or an email or a download or something along those lines, but generally it's kind of static text in a document. What we discovered and what we stumbled across was using some of this technology. Like right now I'm on a green screen, I'm being broadcast into a broadcasting platform. And what we figured out just in a very simple thing was in this way, if I was presenting a slide presentation or I was presenting a keynote, or running through a group activity, a social learning activity together with the folks, they have to remember what they have to do is take that moment, go back to this other world, and then try remind themselves from the notes that they wrote down or from the experience they had. They have to try remind themselves of what they did. And sometimes most of the calls or follow up was like, what was that thing we did? What was that words you used? What was that slide that you presented? How did you frame that exercise again? This may come months and months after that meeting. So what I did here was, in one of our masterminds with Ken was to say, well, what if I projected the exercise behind me and I put myself over the top of it and I just ran them through it again. So what they have is because they've spent multiple days with me, so we have built that bond, and so now here I am again, just like here we are right now on the screen, speaking to all of you. And imagine behind me, just like you see behind us, it says "Unlock your digital potential" over here. Like imagine that was the exercise, and what I'm doing is I'm walking you through it, and in a very 5 minutes, a short video gets sent to you, which means that every time you want to figure it out, you click on this thing, you look at it, there I am, we've got that rapport, we keep building rapport. It allows me to be in thousands of places at the same
Exactly.
time while not
Exactly.
even having to physically be there. It is a game changer. It's a game, like little nuances like this are game changers. And we've got so many of these that we are just getting these insights and these light bulb moments, the realizations that we want to bring to you. But that has added incredible value to me. It's also been able to add a lot of value to my presence. Like one example is that out of that workshop, just because we sent that format, that got distributed to a global team. That global team, suddenly somebody else who wasn't even in the session saw this, said, wow, our team could use this. They got in touch, pinged us back and said, could you come out and do this with our team? That in the old traditional way of trying to, get the word out or, build your, build a sales funnel or build your momentum could have been 50 calls. This happened completely without my involvement, other than connecting to this one thing. And that's just one soundbite, but a lot of value already. So, and that to me was digitizing myself. That to me was us tacking on a vision. It was mapping out a path to provide some new value. And then the impact piece was actually getting the call back saying, hey, could you come and do this somewhere else with somebody that I never even met and I didn't even connect with, and that there wasn't even an email introduction. It just literally came from a piece of yourself that you went out to the world and shared. So think of the implications of that. Think of the impact that we could make if we were all more conscious and more intentional about applying our digital self to the world.
That's awesome. Kyle, I just want to point something out. This is our very, very first live show, and I couldn't help myself. I sent a few people the link, and so we currently have 5 viewers.
Amazing. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, so they're all out there, and they're very helpfully sending me lots of feedback on WhatsApp, telling me all the stuff I'm doing wrong. So that's totally great. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because of something we talked about when we were planning this. I said, you know what, Kyle, we're going to mess this up a lot. We're going to do weird stuff. We're going to do it wrong. I don't even know what we're going to do wrong, but let's just do it wrong live. And that way, we will show people that, number one, you shouldn't be afraid. It's not the end of the world if what just now happened. I built some titles for our feed, and then I showed the titles. And because I have us down here on the left and the right, it turns out that I put the titles right over our faces while you were talking, which is, not ideal. But, I think it's fine. And I think that's how we learn, and I think it's what we need to do. And I really believe that that's one of the core premises of Digitized. Digitize the show, right? And gosh, there's just so many things we can do. So thank you for sharing that. It was awesome that day you sent me back the video clips of you doing that. I was just like, wow, he actually took what I told him and did it. I've told you before, it always shocks me when I give somebody sort of just, step 1, 2, 3, and then they're like, oh, I did that and it worked great. Or it's not so much that it works, I know it'll work, it's just they did it at all. And I think that's another part of the message here is a lot of people may see this show, but very few of them will actually try it and do it. And if you're going to look, there's a possibility for a lot more quarantines. If you're going to get quarantined, wouldn't be a bad idea to learn how to do this so you can stay in touch with your clients, for example, as you did. So that was really cool.
So Ken, one of the things, just jumping in on that, would you share with the audience your MTP, your purpose, your massive transformative purpose, and I'll share mine. I think it'll help understand, because it's something that resonates with me, and it's a superpower that you have. And it's one where I see you are absolutely in your flow when you're doing this, and it's something that's already just absolutely benefiting my life. But I'd love it if you would share that with the audience.
Yeah, happy to. So first of all, if you don't know what a massive transformative purpose is, it's your MTP, and it's that thing that drives you. It's that thing that has kind of a global output. It was first introduced to me in a book called Exponential Organizations, written by my business partner, Salim Ismail, a number of years ago, about 5 years ago now. And you don't usually find your MTP instantly. It just doesn't happen like that. But for me, because of that story I told earlier, getting my hands on a VIC-20 all those years ago and realizing I could do stuff with technology, I came up with mine. Gosh, there's a really kind of personal story about how it happened. I guess I can share that. I was driving home after locking the door on an office for a business I had started that I was the last one off the ship, right? That business failed. And I'd locked the door. I'd loaded the last of the stuff I was going to keep in the back of my truck, and I was driving home, and I was pretty upset that day. And I realized that I was never again going to build technology for technology's sake, which I have had the habit of doing sometimes over the years. And in realizing that that was not the right order of things, I realized that it's always people, process, and technology in that order. The technology props up the process, makes it stronger. The process plus the technology makes the people like superheroes. And that's where my MTP emerged from.
Right.
Did everybody get the literary suspense there? It's empower people with technology. That is what I get up to do every single day of my life. And I'm extremely fortunate to have some places in my life, endeavors, I guess, where I get to do that. And it impacts a lot of people in a very positive way. Maybe we talk about some of those things another day, but there are some pretty cool things happening out there, from teaching people data science, technology operations. People are being fed. We're building a show. Communities are being built. There's some great stories to share.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. And
Tell us
it's
about yours, because I love yours too.
oh, yeah, I mean it's in this and in what we're doing here together with this show, one of the platforms of what I'm looking to do is to try and help people really be self-sufficient and successful and unlock the breakthroughs inside of them to be able to live the lives that they want. My MTP, my big thing, uh, in building our business, which is all around building and activating communities of high performing leaders and cultures around the world that actually drive to impact, that actually create impact in the world. I realize that my role inside of this is activating people's extraordinary potential. That activating potential piece is what's at the heart of what I do, which is whether it's your mindset, whether it's a dream that you have in your mind and you want to make it real in the world, whether it's overcoming a fear, whether it's dislodging from old patterns that don't serve you anymore, whether it's figuring out how to get yourself out there and use your voice to make the changes that you want. Everybody inside of them has series of levels of potential. Some of us have been very successful and have reached a high level of potential. There's another level above that. There's always another level that we can aspire to. And this isn't one of those things which is rah, rah, go, go, push yourself, hurt yourself in terms of like performance and motivation. This is what else could you do with this life that you have? What else could you do with your amazing gift of having a life on this earth in this amazing time right now? There is potential inside of all of us to be able to do more, to be able to give more, to be able to impact more for our families, for our relationships. So that's my thing. My thing is really about activating that extraordinary potential that lives somewhere inside of us. And it sometimes just needs, folk like myself and Kent to kind of pull it out of you a little bit and just get it out into impact into the world. And so for me, this show, Digitized with you, is exactly that. We can reach more people. We can make more impact. We can bring knowledge. We can bring the gift of our insights and learnings where while we right now bumping our heads, trying to figure things out in real time, being honest, being vulnerable, being passionate, having that vitality and vibrancy, and be able to bring that to the world so
That's
that
awesome.
you can unlock your potential.
That's awesome. When is our next show? We're down to our last minute or so here. And I think it's going to be a few days from now. We'll publish it on the channel. But
Yeah.
is the next topic, and then what are we going to talk about in the next show, Kyle? We have a list. We have a list of about 800 things. Which one do you think we should talk about next?
I think it'll be very interesting for us to click another level into the differences of what we mean by these two worlds, your virtual self and your digital
Ah,
self. And it might be
okay.
very interesting to actually start with helping the audiences understand when we talk about digitizing yourself, what does that actually mean? What are the practices and tactics that if you and we can maybe go into examples of careers or marketplaces or businesses that we've been supporting and helping and saying, here is the analog version, here is the real in-time version. Imagine that you digitize that version of yourself or your life. What would that happen? I mean,
Got it.
here's a simple example in a personal. We can go professional and personal is where I'd love to take this because a personal life, which will help efficiency in the workday, but a personal life, like one thing I'm messing with right now is measuring my HRV score to
Yeah.
optimize my heart and my own vitality. That is a band that goes around and gives me digital readings of my energy levels, of
Mm-hmm.
how it's managing my body. That is helping me in a digitized way process data that I can track over months to be able to make the right food decisions. There's so many little things like that. So I
Okay.
think these two worlds, what's the difference between analog and digital? What do we really mean by
Okay.
digitizing
All
ourselves?
right. Well, then it's set. That's what we're gonna do.
Amazing.
So with that, I think I made a bunch of corrections during the show today from the feedback we got from the audience. Thank you, everybody. So I'm about to take us out. Do us a favor. Hit subscribe. If you're on our
Yes,
YouTube
please.
channel, we need to get to 1,000 subscribers actually, and we have 0. So if you're on the thing, or if you know somebody who might be interested in the show, you'll be able to share the recording with them. This is just the beginning. We have no idea what's going to happen, but we're on the journey, and we're on the journey with you. So I just want to say thanks to everybody. Again, my name is Kent Langley. The other gentleman here is Kyle Hermans. The show is Digitized. And with that, we are going to fade to music. So if I can find that. So here we go. We're out.